could like introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background of maybe like your decision of high school to college and then college to industry, kind of start there.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. It's a wild path, so we'll start from the top. So, when I was in high school, I was like a decent student. I wasn't like the craziest student ever. I just kind of like got by. But I was always really good at like math and science, and I brutal at history, brutal at English, Spanish, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I got to do something related with numbers and stuff, you know. And so what ended up happening is I really didn't know what I wanted to do in school. I had no idea what I wanted to be. I wasn't one of those kids that was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. This, I had no idea, you know. And so I went to school. I decided to go to UW Milwaukee basically on a limb, right? So I went and toured the dorms, and I was like, this place is pretty cool. This is a nice setup for a dorm. I'm just going to start here. You know what I mean? And so then that was ultimately my decision to go there. Was literally I just liked the dorms, like, and I knew they had a decent like science school and stuff. And so I went there and I decided to go for engineering. At first, I was a mechanical engineer, and I switched probably I think my sophomore year. I want to say after my freshman year, I switched. It could have even been like second semester freshman year, but made the switch. I ended up going to my advisor, and I was like, look, like I can't be sitting at a desk all day. Like I got to interact with people. You know, like what can I do? You know, what's the best engineering fit for me? And she pointed me down industrial engineering, which that's how me and you kind of have a relationship, obviously, too, is, you know, we're both IEs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, so basically what an industrial engineer is, you know, you work with operators, you'll optimize processes, this, that, and the other. And I was like, that sounds a lot better than just sitting at a desk all day doing design work. And so then that got me into industrial engineering, and then, which was basically business engineering. And you know this, it really is just business. I always called it business engineering, right? And I met in one of my physics classes, I think this was also like end of my sophomore year, I ended up meeting a really good friend of mine named Nick Urso, who later became my business partner and still is my current business partner today. And we know we were both relatively into the engineering corporate world, but not really. We both wanted to be entrepreneurs, and we knew that from like a very young age, you know. So we ended up like starting a business in school. And then, you know, that business was nothing crazy. It was just like a kind of like a clothing business online. And then that got us into like online marketing and the marketing world, and really our first step in the business world. And then when I graduated, I ended up working for some place doing like sales account management for like a year or so. But then ultimately in the end of 2018, ended up just making the full jump into doing full-time like marketing. And there's been a lot of bumpy roads with that. As any naive 24-year-old trying to start a business, there was no direction when we first started. And yeah, you know, so things evolved over the last year and a half, and now we only do marketing for chiropractors. So I run Facebook ads to get chiropractors new patients, and it's been a really freaking good time, and it's really fun because we get them good results. It's a way for them to make money, and it's just growing businesses, which is really what I'm into, honestly.
Dang. Okay. So, how was that starting a business in college? Like, did you have any support, or was it just kind of like, yo, we're gonna try this? And
Yeah, that's interesting. That's basically what it was, honestly. It was more of the second one. It was more so like, let's just give this a shot. You know, I didn't really know because we were in the clothing business, and you know, we basically came up with this brand. And so how that evolved is we bought a screen printer. That was our first initiation for it, you know. And what ended up happening was we realized very quickly we were not into screen printing. We did not want to be doing that. That was not where our skill set was at, you know. And we would spend more time trying to figure out how to market the clothes than actually like figuring out the design of the clothes and anything like that. So that's what made us realize that we were in the marketing, was that we just like marketing the clothes. We didn't like making them, but we like marketing them. And but yeah, when we first started, you know, we were still in school, and so like I don't think people really one took it too seriously, and I don't think they really thought it would go anywhere. Which, to be told, it never really got big. It wasn't a big business or anything. But I don't think really anything thought of it. I think more so the heads turned when we decided to jump full time into the agency world and doing like the Facebook ads for people and stuff. I think more heads turned then, because at that point I had gone to school for an engineer. I had graduated, and I'd never worked as an engineer, so that turned heads, number one. And then number two, when I ended up quitting and just starting to do my own thing at age 24, 25, that definitely turned some heads, because it's like, dude, you just paid X amount of dollars to get an engineering degree and you're not even using it. But the reality is like in marketing world, and it's a process. Everything's a process, man. I use my degree every day. I just don't use it for the corporate world. You know what I mean?
okay, cool.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I want to touch more on that. But how did you handle like being a student while also trying to start a business?
It was yeah, that so we started our business. So I went to school for 5 years. We started it, I think, our third year, end of our third year. So we would just do normal school stuff during the day, get all the work done, and then I would just come over to my buddy's place, which is actually the place we still work out of today, which is funny. And we would just like kind of just just do what we could on the side. It was really like a 9 to midnight kind of thing, or a 9 to 11 kind of thing. Um, and so it wasn't like it took up too much time. Again, we weren't doing crazy volume. We had no freaking clue what we were doing, dude. We had no idea what was going on. We thought we did. Um, but engineering is even with the business engineering, the industrial engineering, as I always call business engineering, it's still a very, very different game,
Mm-hmm.
starting something from ground zero and versus like working in a company and just making it more efficient, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And so, uh, what made you like go into that kind of sales job after graduating, and how was that? Like, did you like that? How was the transition, or was that kind of like a, I don't know, what made you
It
choose
was
that like, engineering job?
Yeah, so I went to a career fair. It was an engineering career fair, and the company I worked for was called Citywide of Milwaukee, and what they did was they were like commercial janitorial services. Now, this isn't the city of Milwaukee. This is just citywide of Milwaukee. So it's a franchise-based business where there's only a few in each state, right? So there's one in Southeast Wisconsin, one in Northern Wisconsin. And the lady who ran that company, she was an engineer, and she wanted to find an engineer to be an account manager for her because she resonated with engineers because she was an engineer, right? And so that's what got me started. It was a small company, and I wanted to work for a small company. I didn't want to work for some big conglomerate or anything like that. So that was kind of my initiation into the business world, which is working for them. It was just a husband and wife, and they had like three or four other employees at the time. And so then I was just doing the account management, which is all just basically relationship management. So I wanted to get into that because like I got into industrial is I just wanted to talk to people all day. That's all I wanted to do. And so then I started doing that. It was a good job. I learned a lot about like relationships and customer management, just trying to manage 90 some contractors that are cleaning buildings every night. I mean, you can guess how many emails you wake up to every morning with issues. So it started to actually like weigh in on me, like personally. Like I start to like feel like I was real negative. Like I get home from work and I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I'd be like, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you kind of deal. And I wasn't like, it just like started to just like really take a toll on me, honestly. And I think it was because of just I try and take ownership of everything that I do. And so when I wake up to all these different errors these contractors are making, like I intrinsically kind of like take that in and own that. And eventually I just started feeling like that I was kind of shitty. You know what I mean? And so that ultimately was like the main reason I ended up like leaving. I definitely left way earlier than I should have in terms of cash flow, but things felt right and decided to make the jump.
Mhm. So I feel like I know that just even seeing you on like on Instagram this past year, and I love that you share like your struggles, your ups, your downs. I know like things are going up right
Mhm.
now. But could you share a little bit about like those ups and downs leading up to like kind of your successes right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely have a long ways to go still. But I tell a lot of my clients this now too, especially when they're first starting, because we coach chiropractors. It's basically like a full-on consulting business at this point. Um, and when you start any business, and I'm going to get to the couple different things here, but when you start any business, the problem is not so much that your business and your delivery is bad. The problem is that nobody knows who you are, right? And so for us, what a lot of people do is when they realize that fact, they take a couple different ways. And the most common way is that they try and start appealing to everybody. They
Mhm.
try and start like so for us, we were like, okay, we run a marketing business, therefore we can have any client. Any business needs marketing, right? And that was a mistake. That was probably the biggest mistake that I think that we made was just trying to go for everybody. I mean, we were serving people in the gym world, in the chiropractic world, in the custom home building world, which is nowhere near relevant to any of those first two. We were doing employee recruitment online. We were doing everything, right? And the world that we live in now is so specialized. Like you got to be specialized, man. Like you can't be just like a generalist like you were back in the day and you were the jack of all trades. Like the internet kind of killed that because we can all be jack of all trades. You know what I mean? We can all be surface level good at enough, right? And so in order to really stand out, you got to get real good at something. And what drew us into like kind of like the marketing world is that it was the ability to make people money. Now, when we started, we were just bad marketers. We would run ads and we wouldn't get conversions because we had bad copy, we had bad images, we had bad landing pages, all that kind of stuff, right? And so we were just bad marketers, right? And we got better. We, through, tens and twenties of thousands of hours of testing, we got better at running ads. And now, the struggle ended up changing from just being bad marketers and losing clients because we couldn't get them results to now it's we're getting them so many results that a lot of people won't actually be able to have the internal processes to take in that capacity. You know what I mean? And so right away for us, taking it back to that kind of our struggles, I mean, we struggled financially and we still do at times, you know what I mean? Like some months, like this month, we're probably going to hit close to 10K this month, but other months we'll do like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? And so it was definitely, it was a roller coaster, right? And the roller coaster was primarily, um, I guess you could place blame on that, was from us not having a niche and not having really any direction. So we could never get any traction. So even when we did have success in some spaces, a lot of times it wasn't scalable. So like we had success in the custom home builder, like finding out other custom home builder clients are so dime a dozen. So for us, it was really the success really started. More success started to come, not crazy success. More success started to come when we did choose like a niche, and our first niche was fitness, and we still do fitness a little bit right now, but it's mostly chiropractic. So that would always be my advice to anybody starting out is that you just don't want to try and be for everybody, because as soon as everybody is people on the internet nowadays, they're not consuming anything, they're contextualizing everything. And what I mean by that is that people aren't really diving deep in who you are until they're ready to do that research themselves, right? And so you have to be really just known for something. Like we close more business now randomly just because people have been in our community and they'll just be ready to make a change in their business, you know what I mean? And so once we made that change to being niche, it definitely helped us personally, financially, helped our business grow, helped our messaging get better, and it ultimately helped our clients get better results.
How did you get into chiropractic then? Like, what made you choose that niche?
Yeah, so my business partner had past experiences with chiropractic. I did as well in terms of just having good results from going to a chiropractor. So that kind of drew us into the chiropractic world. The second reason, which gets a little bit more in depth in the business model side of things, is I'm really big into Are you familiar with like 6 week challenges, like fitness challenges, right? I'm really big into that business model, and the chiropractic model is really, really similar because basically what you do is you get somebody in the door for some sort of pain they're experiencing, which is the same in a gym. You're experiencing some level of pain in your life, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, and you want to make a change, right? And that 6 week period of time is a commitment of basically like X amount of dollars for X amount of time, 6 weeks for $400 or 8 weeks for $500, whatever it is, right? And what's sweet about that model is that when you get somebody in and they pay that price point and they hop in, they've committed themselves for 6 weeks. So it's long enough to get results. It's long enough to build a relationship, and it's long enough for the business to make money, right? And so at the end of that 6 weeks, to sell like a membership for a gym, it's actually a downsell, right? So you're actually downselling into a membership. So you sell like a high ticket program right away, get them to invest, get them to be motivated, and then you downsell into maintaining the results. Well, chiropractors are really the same because really you have treatment plans, which are 12 to 16 visits. You sell them on a treatment plan, they get results, they get bought in, you get time to educate them, and then you downsell them onto a maintenance plan afterwards. And so the business model between the chiropractors and the gyms are actually very similar in nature, which is why it was easy to transition from fitness into the chiropractic world. And to answer your question, the main reason we made that switch is because the gym world is just so flooded right now. It's just probably one of the most saturated online marketing industries. And the chiropractors, they're very well educated and they're really smart at what they do, but they have zero business sense, like none. And if anybody watches as a chiro, I'm not throwing shade at you. Like you're really good at what you do. You just were not taught business, and that's just the reality, right? And so if we can come in and just amplify what they're already doing and help them just really amplify their message to more people, then that's going to be a win for them and a win for us because they sell high ticket programs, they make a lot of money, and we can justify our costs and by getting results.
Nice.
That was a long-winded answer, but that's the answer for you.
For explaining. So I know we've had some candid chats about like, higher education, engineering, entrepreneurship versus corporate. And I'm wondering if you could kind of like think back to your journey of just like being in college and then transitioning through all these things and kind of think about your tough times where, you made that jump too early and your cash flow was low or stuff like that. And how did you kind of push through that?
Yeah, so in terms of making the jump, I feel like me and my business partner were talking about this the other day. I feel like most of the time I try and be very intuitive.
Mhm.
If something feels right, I just do it. And a lot of times in entrepreneurship, there's so many different decisions you have to make, but the most important decisions that you have to make are the ones that have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of risk, right? Because if you're 100% certain on a decision, then it's not really a decision, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of times in entrepreneurship, you just don't know. You know what I mean? Like you just have no freaking clue what the answer is. And Gary Vee, I used to be a big Gary Vee guy. I'm not so much into him as much anymore because I've consumed himself so much. Like I already know what he's going to say nowadays, but he used to always say that like you never know the alternative, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, when I made the decision to jump, it just felt right. And I would never really know. Again, I'm sitting here now. I wouldn't know what the alternative was if I had worked there for forever. It just felt like right at the time. And, there were times where I had to borrow some money to cover some bills, cover some expenses, and pay some people back over time. It's like I paid my parents back some money over time, but at the same time, it's like, it's always going to play out, and like the whole point of this show here is like just because your growth isn't linear doesn't mean it's not there. You know what I mean? And so it's like, we had all years, over a year of just rocky, poor, bad decision making, unknowns, and now it's starting to come together. Like you can't fail forever, honestly. My business partner says the only actual failure in life is quitting. So as long as you don't quit, as long as you're willing to keep going, like you'll figure it out, dude. Like it's literally just like digging for gold every day. Some days you'll strike gold and you'll get something good. Otherwise, you'll just keep digging the next day. You know what I mean? It's just persistence.
Awesome.